And then I wanted to talk about another word, Aubrey, that has to go with the portfolio, and that's assessing children. So the word assessing is a really important word. If you're a Montessorian and you're listening to our discussion, you're familiar with what a 3-period lesson is. You're familiar with what following a child's interests are and how important that is in a child's education, right? But assessing is something that all parents are really worried about or conscious of right now. When are we assessing their children? Well, we're intentionally deferring assessment. We're saying you need to trust us as their teachers. You need to trust us as a Montessori school, that giving your child these 3 years to develop is important. We're not going to jump to any conclusions after their first year or after their second year. But we use that portfolio really at the end of the day to finally assess their child. It's that last period of the 3-period lesson. It's that remembering. Can you tell me, child, like how to do a complete work on, let's just say a Tonka, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that is? And they say, yes, I do. In fact, here, Mr. Brown, here's my masterpiece that I've been saving in my portfolio, waiting for you to ask me that exact question. We do assess children throughout the 6 years of the elementary program constantly by giving lessons to them. We do little 3-period lessons all the time. We say, okay, can you tell me what the name of this triangle is in the context of geometry? Okay, that's an isosceles triangle. Okay, that's a equilateral triangle. That's a right triangle. So we're constantly doing those like mini assessments. But a lot of parents, that's not good enough. Like, we want to know, what are their scores? If you gave them a test right now, like what percentile would they be in? Well, we shy away from those figures. We don't really want to overly judge a child before they're done developing. Well, around the end of the 6th year, I think is an age appropriate time for us to, kind of draw some conclusions. And the portfolio really gives us all that record of their work to be able to do that. Say, look, these are their obvious strengths. Look at all their beautiful work in these subject areas. These are areas they are going to continue to grow in middle school. We've checked all the necessary boxes we need to based off like the table of contents for language, for example, for math, for geometry. And I think they should be really proud of all they've done over the last 6 years. And here's the proof that's in the pudding, here's their final product. So portfolios is one of those tools, and I'm glad you brought it up, but it's something that maybe we shouldn't, necessarily put too much pressure on, especially in the 4th and 5th year. I'm not really, as a teacher, early on in upper L thinking about their portfolio. It truly is something that I want them to wait on until the end of their upper elementary.
You actually brought up another good point, Kelly, is the assessment. Yeah. And that does start when they're in the upper elementary, is a formal assessment. And I say formal because it's really not, but parents feel like it is. So I'm going to put it out there and just kind of talk about it, right? So again, elementary curriculum, age 6 through 12, and they have all the way until the end of their 6th grade year to really know and learn everything that they need to know by the end of their 6th grade year. Mm-hmm. And so society also has this kind of expectation on children that they know how to take tests, mm-hmm. right? So starting in their 4th grade year, they do start practicing to take an assessment. And the 4th and 5th years, they take an in-house. It's like scored by Kelly and I, and sometimes Mrs. Wilson, former upper elementary guide and current Montessori resource guide. And it's just in-house, and it's kind of like a capture of where your child is at that moment compared to their same age peers across, I think, the United States, right? But that doesn't necessarily tell you where that child is in their Montessori education, because you can pluck a 4th year out and maybe they're working on something that's at the end of their 6th grade year,
really advanced, right?
But maybe they're still practicing something that's might be considered 3rd grade curriculum. It just all depends. And because we're mixing up the age groups, that's why the classroom is a mixed age group, right? Mm-hmm. And we're mixing up, and it's all the lessons are planned depending on their interests and their challenges and their strengths, right? What do we need to push them more on? So this is just a capture for the teachers to see, okay, we need to keep building on this. For parents to see, okay, where is my child going? But for the children, it's really more of, how do I bubble in?
How do I take a test?
Right? I've never been given a worksheet. Some of these children have never been given a worksheet and said, okay, I have to pick A, B, C, or D. Well, I don't know. How do I answer an A, B, C, D question, right? Or how do I answer a fill in the blank question? And so they're practicing these skills as a 4th and 5th year. Now, in their 6th grade year, in addition to the assessment with the portfolio, they do take an assessment, a formal assessment with the intermediate group, where those test scores are sent out and they're scored separately, and that's more of a formal assessment, and that makes more sense developmentally because that's the end of their curriculum.
Totally.
Right?
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate all that you've shared with us today. Now, I would encourage anyone listening right now to go check out the YouTube channel for Butler Montessori, as there are a lot more videos that thankfully Kelly Brown and Kelly Nguyen have also put up there about the curriculum and different things that are going on in upper elementary in our school. So thank you both so much for today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think Butler is a special place. Just want to put that as well. We are one of many Montessori schools, but a lot of things we described today are specific to Butler. And not every Montessori school is going to have all these different characteristics that we talked about. The upper school play, the Echo Hill trip. These are things that we just learned over, I think, the collective wisdom of Butler's time here that are really important to distinguish from the lower L to the upper L, just to make that experience that much better for your child. So I definitely agree with you. Like, check out our other videos. Also, if you want to research general Montessori theory, AMI USA is the organization that we get a lot of our teachers and a lot of our training from.
We have some stuff on our blog on our butlermontessori.org.
We're kind of Montessori junkies. Like, if you want to talk Montessori with us anytime, but we also know there's like a practical element to it where you're trying to decide what school is best for your child. And Montessori is like a framework through which we look at the world. But, you know, we're more than, you know, just Montessori. We're also, like, I'm a huge nature enthusiast. That's a huge part of our program as well. Butler, you know, has that going for it as well. We have the equestrian program. So there's so many other things that we could talk about too. And I'm really glad, Aubrey, that you asked us the questions that you did. So we had a chance to share that.
And I would say, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions about upper elementary. My email is kelly@butlerschool.org.
Thank you so much. And we really appreciate all you do for our students.